Today, we're diving into the future of aviation, and it's all about hydrogen-powered jets. It's this incredible dream of totally carbon-free flight, but as you'll see, it's a dream that comes with some pretty serious engineering nightmares. So, what's really standing in the way?
And that really is the big question, isn't it? If hydrogen just burns to create water, why haven't we figured this out already? I mean, what's the holdup? Why aren't we all flying in clean-burning jets right now? Well, the answer is complicated.
To get to that answer, we first need to understand why engineers have been chasing this idea for so long. We have to ask, is hydrogen really the ultimate upgrade for jet engines?
Now, you might be thinking this is some brand new, futuristic idea, but nope, not at all. Believe it or not, the very first gas turbine prototypes, way back in the 1930s, actually ran on hydrogen. Then, in the 50s, engineers built jet engines that ran on 100% pure hydrogen. And get this, in 1988, the Soviets actually flew a plane with one of its engines powered by liquid hydrogen. So we've known for a long time that it can work. The real puzzle is how to make it work safely and efficiently every single time.
Okay, so to really get what's going on here, you need a quick picture of how a normal jet engine works. Deep inside, in a part called the combustor, you've got fuel, like kerosene, getting mixed with air and set on fire. Now, kerosene is a hydrocarbon, and it burns in a pretty slow, predictable way. And that's crucial because the entire engine is designed around that slow, predictable burn.
And this is where you see just what a different beast hydrogen is. Compared to a regular fuel, its flame speed is just off the charts. It burns ridiculously fast. You know, a natural gas flame is pretty chill. It stays where you put it. But a hydrogen flame? It's hyperactive. It literally wants to race backwards, upstream, right towards the fuel source. And this one little fact is the root cause of some of our biggest problems. This crazy fast flame speed creates the first monster of a hurdle for engineers. It's a terrifying thing called flashback.
Yeah, because hydrogen burns so fast, the flame doesn't just sit there nicely. It can literally flash back upstream and latch onto the metal fuel injector itself. Think about the flame on your gas stove suddenly deciding to rush backwards down the pipe into the stove. It's just catastrophic. It will melt and destroy the guts of the combustor in no time.
So you might be wondering, how do regular engines stop this from happening? Well, they use this powerful swirling vortex of air. It's like a tiny, perfectly controlled tornado that creates a safe zone where the flame can burn, stable and away from all the important metal parts.
So, here's the million-dollar question. What do you think happens when the flame you're desperately trying to contain is moving faster than the little air tornado you're using to hold it back? Well, the flame wins. It just punches right through the airflow, flashes back, and the engine starts eating itself. That is the fundamental conflict.
But okay, let's say you somehow solve flashback. You're not out of the woods yet, not by a long shot, because then you run headfirst into two other dangers that are just as destructive but a lot harder to see coming.
The first one is a mouthful, thermoacoustic instability. The easiest way to think about it is like a tiny but unbelievably powerful whistle inside the engine. It's a vibration, an oscillation that can get so violent it can literally shake the entire engine apart from the inside out. And this whole thing is driven by a really nasty, vicious cycle. It all starts with just a tiny little hiccup in the fuel flow. That little hiccup makes the flame pulse, releasing heat in waves. Those heat waves then create powerful sound waves, acoustic pressure. And here's the killer part. Those sound waves then travel back and create even more hiccups in the fuel flow, which creates a stronger pulse, which creates a louder sound, and the whole feedback loop just keeps getting stronger and stronger until, boom, something breaks.
And now for the big paradox. Even though hydrogen is a zero-carbon fuel, burning it can still create nasty pollution. We're talking about nitrogen oxides, or NOx. So how on earth is that possible? Well, remember, the air we breathe is mostly nitrogen, like 78%. When you burn hydrogen at the super high temperatures inside a jet engine, that nitrogen in the air can actually react and form this harmful NOx.
But here's the light at the end of the tunnel. This is the big prize for solving all these problems. The data shows that if, and this is a big if you can get the conditions just right, with a perfectly mixed, lean burn, a hydrogen engine can actually produce less NOx than a kerosene engine for the same amount of power. It can actually be cleaner and more efficient. But those keywords are everything. Ideal conditions.
Getting that perfect, lean mix is the absolute goal. You can think of it like trying to mix cake batter. No matter how well you mix it, it's almost impossible to avoid tiny little pockets where the flour and sugar aren't perfectly blended. In an engine, it's the same thing. It's incredibly hard to avoid tiny pockets where the fuel-to-air ratio is chemically just right to create a ton of heat. And it's precisely in those little hot spots that most of the nasty NOx gets created. The challenge is to eliminate them.
So, after hearing all that, you're probably thinking, this sounds impossible. How can this ever actually work? Well, the answer isn't to tweak the old designs. It's to completely reinvent the heart of the engine, the combustor.
And one of the most radical new ideas out there is something called the micromix combustor. The logic here is actually pretty simple. If one big, angry, unstable hydrogen flame is too dangerous to control, why not use hundreds or even thousands of tiny, stable, well-behaved little flames instead? It's a total rethink of how to keep the fire where you want it.
And there are a couple of cool strategies being tested to make this happen. One idea is to shoot the hydrogen in at an angle to the airflow that forces it to mix really, really fast. Another way is to inject it in the same direction as the air, but so fast that it actually lifts the base of the flame away from the metal parts, which helps prevent that dreaded flashback. But here's another curveball. It's one thing to build these cool new designs. It's another thing entirely to predict how they'll work. And our best computer models really struggle with hydrogen. Its tiny molecules just move and mix in weird ways our models aren't built for. The reactions happen at microscopic scales that take insane amounts of computing power to simulate. And honestly, the fundamental chemistry of how hydrogen burns under jet engine pressures, we haven't even fully mapped it out yet.
And this brings us to the raw, unvarnished truth of where we are right now. And it's summed up perfectly by the researchers. They say the physical understanding is not at a high enough level of maturity. What that really means is that while the science is racing to catch up, a lot of the progress we're making today comes from what they bluntly call trial and error. That's engineers building things, testing them, watching them break, and then learning from the pieces.
So the dream of clean aviation feels like it's within our grasp, but it's guarded by some ferocious physics and fire. Solving these problems isn't just a small tweak, it's a ground-up reinvention of the jet engine as we know it. And that forces us to ask the final question. Is this race for a hydrogen jet a sprint towards a finish line we can all see, or is it really a marathon deep into the unknown? Thank you for joining us on The Explainer.